Welcome back to Tech Talks from Commercial Baking. I'm your host, Maddie Lambert. In this episode, sponsored by Puratos, I'm speaking with Meg Schneider, product manager of sourdough and grains, about the functionality and consumer appeal behind the tangy bread. Meg, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks, Maddie. I'm so happy to be here.
Me too. I'm excited to chat all things sourdough, especially right now because it seems this type of bread is just filling social media feeds across the country. So let's start by talking trends for the new year. So as we start 2026, it's evident now more than ever that commercial bakers need to meet consumers where they're at. So what consumer insights regarding sourdough specifically have you collected through Puratos' Taste Tomorrow initiative that support this?
Yeah, so sourdough is very important to Puratos, and we've been tracking consumer interest in it for quite some time. We all know that sourdough experienced a huge boost with consumers during COVID as people started to bake at home. They learned more and more about how to make sourdough, and they became familiar with the flavor, texture, some of the challenges, and some of the perceived health benefits associated with it. And all of this kind of has taken us to modern day sourdough market trends. We know that while center store sandwich bread is declining about 5% versus prior year in volume, we see that sourdough bread is continuing to skyrocket 25% growth versus prior year, which is huge, especially, in our existing market, we're pretty stagnant in terms of all bread products. And so that's really an avenue of growth. And we think that this is because 3 in 4 consumers report in our Taste Tomorrow survey that they perceive sourdough to be both a tasty and healthy ingredient in their bread, which designates it as a power ingredient. And as consumers of all ages look for more enhanced flavor and health in their foods, sourdough is just a natural fit.
And to your point about sales being stagnant, I especially wanted to talk about this because bread is evolving. It's no longer an automatic household staple. It's not necessarily in every consumer's pantry anymore. When consumers buy bread today, they're buying it based off of maybe dietary restrictions or preferences, nutritional appeal, generational preferences. So tell me more about how Puratos works with its customers to innovate in response to these fluctuations and market shifts.
Yeah, so we mentioned Taste Tomorrow. That's our global bakery research. And at Puratos, we stay close to consumer always. In fact, my length of career at Puratos has been the majority in consumer insights. I spent about 8 years in it before moving to product management. And so we're constantly researching movements in the market and testing these new products with consumers. We want to understand the implications for our customers before they start to feel them in the market. We take these insights and our technical advisor team are very, very talented, turn them into inspiring concepts for our customers. Then, once we get customer alignment, we double or triple back to consumers to get their feedback. Does this appeal to the up and coming Gen Zers who are craving excitement and innovation? Will this become a household staple for Gen X or baby boomers who are looking for a versatile or nostalgic bread? Sourdough is broadly appealing to different consumer types for a lot of different reasons, whether it's due to excitement about the flavor or the perception of authenticity and health, or even just the emphasis on craftsmanship. Knowing this, we have decided to invest even more in the expansion of our local sourdough production in the coming years so we can stay ahead of these evolving consumer needs.
Mhm. And speaking of evolving consumer needs, of course, when we talk about sourdough, we kind of have to talk about clean labels because when it comes to sourdough, that's a large part of its consumer appeal. So, and like you said, with younger generations, they are reading product labels. And I think it's like having a trickle down effect or trickle up effect, really, because other generations are looking at their product labels too. Everyone is very interested in what is and what isn't on the product label. So, how can commercial bakers win over these consumers who are leaning into authenticity and simplified nutrition fact labels?
Yeah, well, I think that's twofold. So, addressing authenticity, that to me is one of the biggest things because sourdough in its nature is so interesting because of how it differs across the world. What's authentic in maybe France would be a fruity rye sourdough, whereas a Durham-based sourdough out of Italy may have a creamier flavor. And then you jump across the world and even across the flavor spectrum to San Francisco, where that really tangy, knock your socks off sourness is what people are looking for. And we ourselves have embarked on a national study to understand those regional flavor preferences for different consumers because we know that a San Francisco consumer may not like what a Florida consumer may like. And so we want to understand those consumer preferences and compare them to what's currently on the market to help our customers fill those gaps and meet that consumer need. I think more than anything, developing a flavor profile through natural fermentation that is true to the company or their product and their consumers is going to be so important to differentiate themselves versus their competitors, whether the competitors are in the packaged aisle or an artisan bakery down the street. But like I said, through natural fermentation, we always have to keep in mind clean labels, especially now. I feel like we've all been getting all these headlines every day about these huge shifts happening in the US away from artificial ingredients. And I know that a lot of companies are scrambling to reformulate to get the same flavor and color and quality of their products, but by only using natural ingredients. Fortunately, sourdough develops its unique and complex flavor through natural fermentation of just flour, water, and microorganisms. So there's no artificial ingredients required, even from the start. And because we're so interested in the heritage of sourdough, we have always produced sourdough through that slow fermentation of flour, water, and microorganisms. And we create diverse flavors through careful adjustments in the time, the fermentation time, the temperature, the recipe, and the process. I will say, just a shameless plug here, globally, we are so invested in the heritage of sourdough. We maintain the world's only sourdough institute, which is a sourdough library where we catalog, protect, and research sourdoughs from all over the world. So we are able to research what makes sourdough from Italy versus France so unique and how we can help unlock the next generation of bread through that deep understanding of sourdough. In addition, beyond clean label, a lot of consumers are really interested in the potential health benefits of sourdough and can we unlock that in an industrially produced bread that doesn't undergo a long fermentation? Well, there's really a lack of research, especially in the US, around gut health and sourdough. And so through our Sourdough Institute, Puratos is still committed and will continue to be committed to partnering with organizations and colleges all around the world to understand the implications of gut health and to tie those to sourdough.
For the sake of not making you repeat yourself, but this is so intriguing to me because you detailed a very extensive process. And I know that all the work is behind the scenes for Puratos. So can you tell me about how Puratos makes this fermentation simple for bread manufacturers? What does that process look like?
Yeah, coming into this position, I've been learning a lot about what industrial facilities have to do to produce a sourdough or to really enhance bread flavor in their facilities. And so instead of manufacturers having to maintain their own mother dough, so instead of having to feed a mother dough, keep her refrigerated, make sure that she stays protected in case of a facility fire or a lack of skilled labor, which has its own challenges. Facilities might have to build a sponge and dough system to do a pre-ferment or just really extend their proofing time. We eliminate all of that hassle through our ready-to-use sourdoughs, which we call sapores. So we do the fermentation in our facility in Pennsauken, New Jersey, or in Belgium, and then we stabilize the product so they're ready to use. So you get that complex and diverse flavor that is brought through natural fermentation without any of the hassle in customer facilities.
Wow, that's really amazing. And like I said, that's a lot of work behind the scenes that really just helps commercial bakers, especially bread manufacturers.
Mhm.
I want to go back because you mentioned the Sourdough Institute and combined with Puratos's recently launched industrial pilot bakery. Tell me about these capabilities and just Puratos's general expertise that makes it the support system just very robust when it comes to R&D and the commercialization process.
Yeah. So we know that our customers are so focused on making great bread. And so we want to do all of the background research we can do to help support them, which is why we want to deeply study sourdough at the Sourdough Institute. But beyond that, you mentioned the pilot bakery. We have a huge focus on this. This is a huge one for us. We partner with our customers from concept through commercialization to make sure that they have the best product possible on launch. So as we discussed previously, we're always starting with consumer and understanding what they need. We then make those formulas with our technical advisors to help make a concept that will match not only consumer need, but customer operational feasibility. So we want to make sure that our customer R&D and operations can also take this product and run with it. And then once that recipe is finalized, that's where the really exciting stuff starts. We can scale that product on our state of the art industrial pilot bakery, which is here in Pennsauken, built through our partnership with AMF. And there we can see how or if the product can be produced by our customer without requiring the customer to pause their lines to validate those recipes. And then once that validation is complete, we then go back and test that product with consumers anywhere in the US or Canada with our Sense of Us. And so we're able to do consumer testing right on site at a supermarket or shopping mall to get that direct feedback. And this way, our customer can feel comfortable that the new product will be both operationally successful and loved by consumers way before the launch of the product.
And that is just truly so amazing, not only in today's landscape when there's just so many moving parts when it comes to launching a product or even reformulating existing products. It's definitely made an impact on the industry for sure. Well, I just have one last question for you, and it's the easiest one. What is the best way for commercial bakers to get in touch with Puratos and learn more about the awesome work you guys are doing?
Yeah, so I'd say the number one point of contact, if they have a Puratos representative, reach out to them. So our sales reps are our front line to make sure you can reach out to them. You can also visit us at pratos.us. That's our US website. If you're interested in learning more about the Sourdough Institute, we have sourdoughинstitute.com, or you can go ahead and reach out to me if you have any questions about the Puratos product range.
Well, thank you so much, Meg. This was a really fun conversation, and might I say timely because of Taylor Swift giving the sourdough
Yes,
industry quite a boost.
exactly.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Maddie.